So friends, once again, courts have put a stop, albeit a temporary one, to Donald Trump's determination to militarize the streets of Portland, Oregon. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So friends, I've got to be honest, I almost wasn't going to do this story, this video, because there has been so much back and forth between the trial court judges and the appeals court judges and the Supreme Court justices involving Donald Trump's abuse of presidential power, his abuse of the military, his abuse of the American people. There's been so much back and forth that, sometimes you just want to throw up your hands at the injustice of it all. But we can't do that. We have to remain hard at work fighting the abuse of presidential power. So here is the latest reporting regarding Donald Trump's determination to militarize the streets of Portland, Oregon. And the good news is this is a positive story, but full disclosure, it may be positive only fleetingly, because the ending is as of yet unwritten. Still, here is the new reporting. Headline: Where the latest court battles over Trump's National Guard deployments stand now. And that article begins, no National Guard troops are expected to be deployed in Portland, Oregon for at least several days after a temporary federal appeals court decision Friday. Meanwhile, a judge in Washington, D.C. is weighing whether to pull more than 2,000 troops off the streets of the nation's capital. The developments are the latest in a head-spinning array of lawsuits and overlapping rulings prompted by Trump's push to send the military into Democratic-run cities despite fierce resistance from mayors and governors. And can I add, it's not only due to fierce resistance of mayors and governors, it's because there is no factual basis to send troops into LA or Portland or Chicago or Memphis or San Francisco or any other city or town in America. Because there is no rebellion, there is no insurrection, and there is no inability of the federal government to enforce federal law with regular forces. And trial court judges are making those findings over and over and over again. In Portland, federal court judge, Trump appointee Karen Immergut said that Trump's assertions that, Portland is war-ravaged, it's being invaded and overtaken by Antifa and domestic terrorists. His assertions are, quote, untethered to the facts. So friends, I would suggest it's not really because of fierce resistance from mayors and governors. It's a result of Donald Trump's fierce resistance to the facts, to reality. All my editorial addition. The article continues. Troop deployment remains blocked in the Chicago area, where all sides are waiting to see if the U.S. Supreme Court intervenes to allow it. Troops in Oregon remain in limbo. A federal appeals court on Friday paused a decision issued by a 3-judge panel earlier in the week that could have allowed President Donald Trump to deploy 200 Oregon National Guard troops, ostensibly to protect federal property in Portland. The 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals said it needs until 5 p.m. Tuesday to decide whether to reconsider the panel's decision and the panel's decision won't take effect until then. Can I add, that was a panel decision where there was a 2-to-1 split, and the two judges who voted in favor of deferring to Donald Trump, notwithstanding an absence of evidence supporting his bullshit claims, two Trump appointees. Again, my editorial edition. U.S. District Judge Karen Immergut, a Trump appointee in Portland, she was the trial court judge, issued 2 temporary restraining orders earlier this month, one prohibiting Trump from calling up Oregon troops to Portland, and another blocking him from sending any Guard members to Oregon at all after he tried to evade the first order by deploying California troops instead. You know, friends, I feel like we're watching the highest stakes tennis match imaginable. On one side of the net, on one side of the court, we've got all these trial court judges, these appellate court judges, even a handful, although a minority, of Supreme Court justices who remain loyal to the facts, to reality, to the rule of law, to the Constitution. We've got these judges and justices who are trying desperately to protect the American people from an abjectly, transparently abusive President of the United States. And then on the other side of the net, on the other side of the court, you know, we've got judges who don't really seem to care that much about whether the facts bear out what Donald Trump is claiming represents reality, you know, dictating that he must send troops into the streets of America. It's absurd. As a Trump-appointed judge, Karen Immergut, who's obviously on the side of truth, the rule of law, the Constitution, and protecting the American people, said Donald Trump's assertions are untethered to the facts. But you've got these judges, and unfortunately, a 6-justice majority on the Supreme Court who don't seem to care about the facts, the rule of law, the Constitution, or the safety of the American people. And they just seem determined to forever allow Donald Trump to expand his abusive presidential power. Think of the ball, the tennis ball, as Donald Trump's abuse of power. And it keeps getting batted back and forth and back and forth over the net. And yes, every day we're watching to see who wins each point in this high-stakes, dangerous game of tennis. But I'll tell you, friends, by the time it is point, set, and match, that will determine whether we get to keep our republic, whether Donald Trump's abuse of the rule of law, the Constitution, the military, the streets of American cities, and the American people, whether they win or whether an aspiring day one dictator, an orange autocrat, wins. And yes, sometimes watching every point in that high-stakes tennis match, every point, every day, makes you want to throw up your hands, makes you want to holler, makes you want to run screaming at the injustice of it all. But we can't. And that's why we do this every damn day. Because justice matters. Friends, as always, please stay safe. Please stay tuned. And I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.